It's set up like this girl found all this stuff from her uncle or her granddad. We're gonna get in there and look, but they're acting like this all occurred in 1926. This says the pyramids reminded me of all I came to Egypt to discover: the dusty tombs, the ornate temples, the golden treasures, and the strange, unearthly mummies. But I've also come to find something more. I don't remember all the symbolism and the names and stuff, so but we're gonna look at this anyway. So it starts off, and there's just pictures. There's a lot to read. I'm probably not gonna read everything, but it's like there is a postcard. It's from E. Sands. There's like different hieroglyphs and stuff. The statue of the god Anubis, guarding the king Tutankhamun's treasures. There's just different stuff here. Supposedly, I can't remember. Let me see what it says. His uncle or granddad. Let's see. I think it says somewhere and kind of tells you the story. I don't remember. We'll see. But to show it like Cairo's bustling gateway, and there's supposedly all these tickets of him attending different things. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna read this part so you can kind of authorities found these rumors difficult to believe. The official police inquiry at the time revealed few clues, and a series of private investigators hired by Lady Farncombe failed to shed further light on the matter. As I read through my great aunt's journal, I became more and more convinced that she had indeed discovered something of tremendous importance. There were certain rumors in the papers at the time to that effect, and some so-called mystics even claimed that she had died as the result of a mummy's curse, very similar to the one that was said to have killed some of the discoverers of Tutankhamun's tomb. But while it was true that my great aunt's pet cat, Hathaway, did suddenly die, far away in England, around the same time as her disappearance, coincidences like this happened all the time, so I thought nothing more of it, especially as Hathaway was 18 years old. I have since pondered the manuscript on many occasions, hoping it might shed some light on what happened to my great aunt. But since moving to America to be closer to my daughters, I've had less time on my hands. I therefore offer it to you for publication in the hope that perhaps it will reach someone who may be able to investigate my great aunt's disappearance. At the very least, a facsimile of the book might make a fascinating read, and I'm aware that much of the journal is somewhat in variance with accepted theories about the early history of Egypt. If you are not interested in publishing the journal, please take the trouble to return it to me. Yours faithfully, Joanne Sutherland. So this is supposedly Anne Sand's journal about her travels. So this is her in the middle, and all of her friends that were traveling around, the people that went missing, I think. So we have here, this is one of the things that she attended. The Egyptology search for the tomb of Osiris. Oh, I'm sorry, no, being the journal of Miss Emily Sands. This was just the name of her first thing, saying it was her journals. So here's an image of Osiris, a sketch of the famous Queen Cleopatra, and it says camels, a stylish if uncomfortable means of visiting the monuments. Let's see, this says, Dear Amanda, your sponsorship money is coming in so handy. Tomorrow we're heading off to sail around the Temple of Isis at Philae. I'm sure we'll find out more about the lost tomb of Osiris there. I'll write again as soon as I can, Emily. P.S. All the camel riding is proving a trifle painful. here's different excerpts from the Egyptian museum that she had visited. Different photographs and excerpts that she had taken. And this is some of her teammates that were doing some skating and taking data in front of the pyramids. Okay, this over here shows the crowns of Egypt. As king of both the upper and the lower Egypt, the pharaoh wore a double crown, made up of the white crown of Upper Egypt and the red crown of Lower Egypt. The red crown was associated with the Lower Egypt, the area from Memphis northward and around the Nile Delta. The white crown, this is the crown of Upper Egypt, the area that stretched from Memphis southward to Thebes and beyond. The blue crown, this is known as the war crown because scenes of Seti the First and his son Ramses II show them wearing it in battle. Says this sketch by T.A. shows the relief on a mace head belonging to the pre-dynastic king of Upper Egypt, known to us only as Scorpion. And here's a bunch of kings that ruled in their names, but I promise if I say them, I'm going to butcher them, so I'm not going to say it. This is notes on ancient Egypt. This is Isis. This is Osiris, Horus, and Seth. That's what the reign of the gods. And then they posted the temperatures in Egypt. It says, don't get burned when you buy a hat. With a bearish hat, you'll stay as cool when the going gets hot. Let's see, so we are in August, the end of August now. It's in Alexandria. That was 73 to 87 in August. Cairo was 71.95 degrees. Luxor was 74 to 107. And Aswan was 76 to 107. An international distance. They show the distance from Bombay to Cairo, Hong Kong, London, New York, Paris, Rio de Janeiro, Rome, Sydney, and Tokyo. We have our map. Alexandria to Cairo is 130 miles. Suez to Cairo is 87. Cairo to Giza Pyramids is only 6 miles. It's from Saqqara in Memphis. So this is supposedly on their barge that they took. When they left Memphis, they traveled by donkey to Saqqara, the burial ground of Memphis, Egypt's most ancient capital. We will see the step pyramid of Sosur, the Serapeum catacomb of the sacred Apis bulls, and the remarkable tomb of animal and bird mummies. Here's a mummified baboon, a mummified cat, and a mummified ibis. Evolution of the step pyramids. A small sample of mummy cloth. Oh, that's actually really cloth they put in here. It says mummies have been used for strange things. When American writer Mark Twain visited Egypt, he wrote that they even used them as fuel for his steamboat. I'm afraid we wouldn't get very far with this piece. Found Saturday, 13th of November in Saqqara, Egypt. I like how this is set up like it's really her journal. I think that's really neat. This is King Sosur. In the step pyramid, a statue of King Sosur was found completely walled up, except for a small slit at eye level so the king could gaze out on eternity. HW has attempted to paint it in the original colors. Could there be a statue like this in the tomb of Osiris? Although we were told that many early pharaohs had two tombs, one here and other in Upper Egypt, we have found nothing here to help our search. The ancient Egyptians were certainly fond of cats. Some even had their cat own little coffins. Sphinxes Karnak and Colossi. The Colossi of Memnon, which used to be known as Shami and Tani, possibly a corruption of the Arabic words for left and right, used to sing each morning, a sound probably caused as the sun heated up the stones. But the singing stopped when Roman Emperor Septimus Severus repaired them in AD 199. Look at the big feet, big stone feet. This one that must have fallen over. This is a poem by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Osmandius. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip sneer of cold command. Tell that its sculptor well, those passions red, which yet survive stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. On the pedestal these words appear, my name is Osmandius, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty in despair. Nothing beside remains, round and decay, of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, and the lone and level sand stretch far away." Situated in Thebes, the temple of Luxor was connected to the temple of Karnak by a mighty avenue of sphinxes that ran along each side of the road far more than a mile. The city of Og. Christmas morning we visited the ruins. The ruins from the city of Og. This is Christmas Day. Season's greetings. It's just different stuff. The Temple of Horus. At the Temple of Horus, built on the site of the mighty battle between Seth and Horus, we learned that the statues of the gods were not always kept locked away in their sanctuaries, but were brought out on special feast days. The image of the god Horus of Edfu was brought out once a year to celebrate his marriage to the goddess Hathor. Her image was brought by the river from Dendera, 100 miles to the north. As I went round asking about the strange young man who pressed the eye of the re-amulet onto me, I was told by an American who had arrived from Aswan that he had heard tell of a secret group who were sent to still worship Isis and Osiris. I wonder if that young man had anything to do with them. This is a sketch of the priest carrying the statue of Horus. This is showing different war things. This is the Kefesh sword, the dagger, the throw stick, the axe, the arrow, the bow, and the spear. These are the main weapons used by the Egyptian soldiers of the Middle and New Kingdoms. Ancient engineering. I've tried to show what it is like to enter one of these ancient Egyptian temples by constructing this card, representation of the Temple of Ramses II. It is not to scale, of course. As well as commissioning this temple to himself, Ramses also created a smaller one nearby, dedicated to his chief wife, Nefertari. This, the first of two halls, contains 6 statues of Osiris. On either side, the walls are covered with reliefs that show Ramses riding his chariot and spearing an enemy. The sanctuary lies 150 feet from the entrance to the temple. The temple was built with such accuracy that twice a year at dawn, the rays of the sun shine through the doorway and light up these figures. Although horses were introduced to Egypt sometime before the New Kingdom, domesticated camels were not used for another dismiss it out of hand. In some respects, it is very like other accounts of visits to Egypt written by visitors of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Miss Sands and her party follow a fairly conventional itinerary, determined by the course of the river Nile on which they travel. The notes she included on places visited and on various Egyptological matters are generally accurate, but not very original. No doubt she had a good guidebook to help her. I am not convinced that the Von Gogh papyrus is truly ancient. Its appearance is convincing, but its content is very dubious. I have not been able to find any reference to it in Egyptological literature. Neither have I been able to find any contemporary account of the Sands' disappearance. The very idea of discovering the tomb of Osiris is somewhat fanciful, although the mysterious disappearance of the party is very puzzling. I am not a believer in mummy curses, but the world is not without other, more prosaic manifestations of malevolence. As it stands, I think the journal might make an interesting, if curious, publication. It has great charm, and the illustrations are very evocative of travel in Egypt 80 years ago. It should be reproduced as it stands. Tinkering with it might damage its naive attraction. Yours sincerely, T.G.H. James, formerly keeper of Egypt Antiquities at the British Museum. P.S. I penned some drawings and notes on Tutankhamun's equipment. Miss Sands would never have seen it. All these things were hand delivered to Miss Emily Sands, care of Patsy's Hotel.